All right, Cardinal fans, welcome back to the Red Rain podcast. This is episode 192. Once again, please welcome in your host, the one and only Walter Mitchell.
Well, I am with the one and only Little Rock Ledbetter, who today is sporting a bedhead. No wonder if the dude gets up this early to tape these shows at 6:30 a.m. his time, and I have to. Put that back.
Either that or the Mariners
don't
hat.
torture us with that, please. And then the one and only 61 Sam, who has 2 more years of anguish over 63 Mitch. And what talk about anguish. That was a toughie to endure yesterday. I was just saying to the guys that for the first time in a long time heading into a Seattle game, and even on Dan Vienz's Seattle Forever Seahawks podcast, which he invites me to every time we play, I said it was the first time I really felt like we'd have a pretty decent chance to contend in this game, and no, all the 4 plays in this quarter pretty much put a damper on that. But to the Cardinals' credit, and I know I'm getting some shit on this on X because I felt compelled to say it, our Cardinals did not quit. I thought Jacoby Brissett gave us all he had in this game, as did Trey McBride. I thought the offensive line tried to regroup as best as they could. We were knocking on the door left and right. We dominated the second half. We finished the game on a 22-9 run and had all these other opportunities to connect. It took one of the most amazing pass breakups, and on one occasion by Pritchett, which is still, I'm like shaking my head how good that was. But, I know we lost, but there's a certain integrity to keeping up the fight. And I'm so impressed that our players, I saw Calais Campbell making a big stop late in the fourth quarter. I mean, there were a lot of bad plays. There were a lot of tough situations. But to me, this game came down to coaching. Now, I think that the Seahawks are much better coached, obviously. And I think that they've got their act together. I mean, I think they are really rolling. But they're rolling because of the way that they're coached. And I think that the Cardinals keep getting set back by an inexperienced coaching staff that doesn't make adjustments. That we see the same problems week after week after week, and there's no correction. And Gannon again rolled it back at the end of the game and said, "It's on me. I got to find a way to put the players in a better position." Well, let's start with this play. The Cardinals came out and got 2 very good stops on the Seahawks' first drive. A 2-yard pass 3-yard pass completion to Smith-Njigba that Akeem Davis-Gaither stopped in its tracks after 3 yards on a good cover. So I'm like really thinking, wow, we're going to cover these guys today. Second was a Zach Charbonnet. We'll get 61 fired up on Charbonnet in a minute. 2-yard run. We stuffed them. So it's 3rd and 5. Now, we know what the Seahawks dialed up for pressure on the Cardinals' first possession. So now it's 3rd and 5 with a chance to get that vaunted offense off the field. And this epitomizes what is wrong with a Jonathan Gannon defense. That A, we didn't dial up the pressure, and B, these soft frickin' zones where you don't cover anybody. Look at this. That's Cooper Kupp, future Hall of Famer. That's Cooper Kupp sitting between two defenders who don't even cover him. I mean, what's the point? It's got to be the easiest throw imaginable from Sam Darnold, who, by the way, started out like 14 for 14 in his last game against the Commanders. So you're going to give him an easy pitch and catch here. It's just mind-boggling to me how passive and soft and uncompetitive this defense is, especially in key spots. Imagine how different this game would have been, gang, if we get them off the field on a 3-and-out. It might have been completely different because I think we were in their heads a little bit. I know talking to Dan Viennes, they were giving us more respect coming in. But Dan said a prescient thing on the podcast. He said, we've been relishing big-time wins, lopsided wins, in a way we hadn't been previously with Pete Carroll. And now we have the luxury of enjoying blowout wins. And Dan said, look, I think he's going to go back to the first Cardinals game and say, we had him, we should have blown him out. And we should go into this game thinking we're going to blow him out from the beginning. But, so you give them this just easy out. And what was it? 2 plays later, they get a bomb. Kyle, can you show the Jackson Smith-Njigba TD bomb? I mean, so 2 plays later, not only we let him off the hook, or, look at this bootleg. They move the pocket. Look at this dime. Safety's too late. Jalen Thompson, that's been my bugaboo. We don't have a free safety who gets to balls like that, except Rabbit. But for whatever reason, they don't want to start Rabbit there. And then, Garrett Williams commits, his technique all the way throughout this route was just plain bad. And he's in a position still to make a play. And what is that? Sam, can you explain what happened? I mean, Kyle, jump in here and tell me what happened to Garrett Wilson on this play. First of all, just say the big mistake he made was playing that back quarter of the field. He got twisted around and then let Smith-Njigba cross his face and get the step on him. But to Garrett's credit, he trails and tries to get in position to still be effective on the play. And then what is happening here?
His safety help is late, but he should have had him. Misplayed the ball. And all day, Garrett played poorly.
He did.
All day. I was shocked to see how poorly he played.
Yeah, he's not. I guess we can figure out now. And this is what frustrates me too, is we have a guy on the roster who was finally activated in Elijah Jones, who's the best corner on deep quarters. Hands down, he's as good as, and he's the best man corner. I mean, and with Will Johnson, who, by the way, missed both Seattle games.
Yep.
We got to sort of pump the brakes on him, too. I mean, the reason why he fell was injury concerns, and now he's
out of college.
3 games.
Consistently.
It's just agonizing.
And he's a terrific corner.
He is. And he's a baller. We
missed Melton yesterday, too, who you could point to as an improving, ascending player.
Melton would have been better on that play. I'm sure of it. Absolutely. But we also have Elijah Jones, who's been ghosted by the coaching staff. So, and he's a back quarter cornerback made to order. And, so frustrated. But Garrett got, unfortunately, busted on that play. And, I don't know what happened to him at the end, why he lost his legs. And
Yeah,
why he wouldn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I wish I could see the all-22 angle on that, but I think it's just one of those where you're a step behind and you're trying to just catch up and you just get your feet caught under you.
But also you could time that and just try to leap up and deflect the ball. I mean, there was no play on the ball. He never looked back, which is one of the things you're taught to do.
Which also I give Darnold immense credit on that too, because if Jackson Smith-Njigba has to slow down his route even a little bit, it gives Williams that room to catch up.
No doubt. He threw Darnold. That's why he's an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
He's throwing dimes, especially early in games, and getting them big leads, and as he did in this game. So credit him and credit Smith-Njigba for a great concentration. But I know our defense plays soft, so to prevent plays like this. So that's a double whammy. You played soft on third down and gave him an easy out. And then a couple plays later, you played, you got beat out over the top on a quarter, out of the range of the safety. And now you're down 7-0. And we're only 4 minutes into the game. All right, so let's go to the second photo. Let's flip it over. What do we see here? Oh, can we expand that a little bit? Because McBride's wide open in the middle.
This is the only photo I had available. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, right there, see the blue line? I mean, Jacoby's going to go to McBride. They vacate the middle by sending Knight on the blitz. All right. But look at what's wrong with this picture. 1, 2, 3 blockers on Leonard Williams. Froholt's doing fine with his man. Unfortunately, Evan Brown didn't see the blitz coming in time to try to help out. The running back, Bam, has got the edge. Over to this side, Paris Johnson Jr. had steered his man. We're going to go live on this play in a minute, but the blocking from these three, including Paris, was fine. It's just that on a delayed sprint blitz, Knight, who was starting for our nemesis Ernest Jones, which also gave me hope we could really contend in this game. And notice too with Knight, which is really special, is how with a straight shot at the quarterback, a lot of linebackers would have just gone right for the numbers and tried to kapow him. Instead, Knight goes right for the football, and I'm sure he was coached to do that because he did it again. Only this time from a shotgun. Now, my issue with this too is that let's go cue this up from the highlight tape. I'm going to show you why this is on the coaches, big time. Not only from the poor blocking scheme. I mean, you don't put 3 guys on Leonard Williams, but notice that on first down, we got stuff for a 1-yard loss. So you haven't established a run yet that the Seahawks have to worry about, right? So my question is, why are you running play action on a 2nd down and 11, where pretty much they know you're going to pass anyway? All right. And notice how long Jacoby's back is away from is heading towards the other end zone. It's tough to, get your drop going straight backwards, then turn. And if the pressure's immediate, it's really tough. So rewind it. So notice it's back turn, back turn, back turn. All right. Now you're going to see McBride go over the middle wide open. That's what you do. That's called a hot call. That part was perfectly coached. But because we can't account for the blitzer, and he gets there so fast with having Jacoby just turn, I'll tell you right now, if they ran this play out of the shotgun and he had extra time to see it, that's going to be a big gainer over the middle, easy throw and catch to Trey. But instead, because you're running play action in a non-play action situation, you've made the play way more difficult for your quarterback. And, there you go.
Particularly where the running back can't sell the fake, because if you go back here,
right,
you got a free rusher coming. Running back's got to go block, so he can't even sell the fake that they were trying to run there.
Right. And in another scenario, you have, if you had more time, you could escape that to the right, and you have a convoy of blockers. And dang, if it's just a nanosecond from being a forward pass. On both plays, nanosecond from being a forward pass. But this is on Petzing, and it's on the offensive line coach, Justin Fry. Next week the Seahawks play the Rams. That's going to be a really must-see TV.
For the division.
One thing that Matthew Stafford does better than any quarterback is he pre-snap, he gives the pass pro calls. He coordinates it up all the way. He's really great at that. Going back to Detroit, he's always been a stickler for that. So he works in conjunction with the offensive line coach and with McVay, and they get it down. So he could have saw. Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle for the Seahawks, said after the game, Jacoby's a sitting duck back there. And so I fired back. Let me tell you what I fired back. So I said, Seattle defensive tackle Byron Murphy called Jacoby Brissett a sitting duck. It's true if he isn't well protected, but so is his quarterback, Sam Darnold, and the likes of Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, and Mac Jones. Stafford and Darnold are two of the leading MVP candidates. Difference in this game was Seattle got the ball out quickly, and Darnold rarely got too pressured or sacked. Of course, those soft zones, right? Gannon's soft pass coverage made the game easy for Darnold. On the flip side, McDonald plays a much heavier dose of sticky man coverage, which gives the pass rush a far better chance. And let's not forget this. In the offseason, the Cardinals let their best coach, Clayton Adams, leave the building when they decided not to promote him. Gannon replaced him with Ohio State offensive line coach Justin Fry, who came with no NFL experience. The Seahawks, on the other hand, needing a new offensive line coach of their own and having struggled immensely on the offensive line for years, hired Rick Dennison, a proven offensive line galvanizer who came with 29 years of NFL experience. Have we ever seen the Seattle offensive line play this well and consistently and cohesively? Meanwhile, have we ever seen a Cardinals O-line with all 5 starters returning regress so precipitously from one season to the next? Let's also not forget that as brilliant as Mike McDonald is in calling defensive plays, he brought in Leslie Frazier with his 26 years of experience, many years as a successful DC in Buffalo, and 3 years as a head coach in Minnesota. Maybe it was Frazier who pointed out to McDonald how the Cowboys blitz packages got to Jacoby Brissett in the fourth quarter. And while Seattle prefers to rush 4, they don't blitz all that much. Why not try to pick up where Dallas left off? See if the Cardinals had adjusted. On the other hand, Gannon, who was the only experienced DC 2 years on the staff, wants nothing to do with coordinating or calling plays. He appointed his protege, Nick Rallis, who is just 43 games into learning on the job without having the benefit of working with a senior defensive advisor. What's the point of hiring a defensive-minded head coach if his defense is perennially in the bottom third of the league? Seattle is an organization that is serious about winning. They have their eyes on the Lombardi. In comparison, who and what are the Cardinals? The Cardinals can't even really call Seattle a rival anymore. Not
That's
after
right.
losing 9 straight games since 2021. The last time Colt McCoy beat him. Okay, 61, jump in on that.
Well, the changes in Seattle are even more impressive than that. When McDonald came in, they had an offensive coordinator. They had a quarterback.
Yes.
Didn't work. One season, no fooling around. We're replacing the OC with, like you said, an experienced staff. We're going to improve. And Clint Kubiak and Dennison are a package deal. So they knew what they were getting when they brought Kubiak in. And they fixed everything. They didn't wait around. They didn't give him time. Right. McDonald walked into one of the best GM's offices in the league. They looked at each other and says, yeah, we got to make a change, and we're going to make it now because we want to win football games. Those conversations don't occur in Arizona.
No, and you're still, I mean, it's just concrete proof when they let go of Adams, their best coach.
We've been talking 22 minutes today. We haven't even gotten out of the first quarter. And yet every player we've named, with maybe the exception of Jacoby, but every player we've named, every squad we've discussed, and that's with the exception of Froholt, every single one of them has regressed. From Garrett Williams to the entire offensive line. Paris Johnson was terrible yesterday. Terrible. And I don't even want to mention the name of the person who is being overpaid to be absolutely terrible on the other side of the line.
Oh, yeah.
And they spent money on that guy. And they had other options besides that guy. They had less expensive options on that guy. Oh, we heard everything about we're not going to do anything with the offense. We've got continuity. Well, we see what's happened to continuity when it regresses across the board.
Yeah, boy. Yep.
How pissed off do you think Marvin Harrison Sr. was yesterday after the game? Like, I don't care, but there you go.
Well, Marv got
12. Are not the Cowboys.
Right. Marv got 12 targets.
Yep.
They forced it to him.
Yep.
Marv was not having a good day.
No.
Against an elite corner in Devin Witherspoon.
Well, actually, they were matching up Pritchett on him.
Oh, he had a good game.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great game. It wasn't just, I mean, they did a lot of mixing and matching. Yes, it was Spoon who broke up the deep pass, the one deep pass we threw to him nicely. It's also Spoon with Mike Florio at the Combine, who said Marvin Harrison's an easy cover. When the Cardinals drafted him, he said, "I'm not scared about it."
He should be. He should be scared of
I
Marvin
don't
Harrison.
think that's all the. I think when Marv is at his best, he is not an easy cover. But Marv is a mercurial player. You have to, from game to game, you don't know which Marv you're getting. This goes back to the previous game, Jacoby's first game, when he tried to keep connecting with Marv over the middle. And Marv was dropping passes over the middle. Marv is middle shy. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. But he is. And this is the key to our offense right now. We need someone. So that's why I think queuing up Dortch would be huge right now. because we got to turn someone
yesterday.
into what Jackson Njigba and now Rashid Shaheed is going to be able to do, is win over the middle.
Yeah.
If you don't win over the middle in the NFL, you're not going to win games. You're not going to win games. But if your stud receiver you drafted number 4 in the draft and tanked to get doesn't want to catch balls over the middle, where are we as an organization? What are we focusing in on? Fortunately, we have McBride who's willing to catch anywhere at any time. And I love Higgins. He could be that guy too.
Yes.
But unfortunately, Jacoby threw him into trouble there in that one occasion.
Yeah.
But at that point, Jacoby was just trying to, get something going. And I don't really. Kurt Warner would have never thrown that pass, knowing that what trouble was coming. But I understand why Jacoby was desperate to get a completion there, and he probably trusted that. Higgy is a tough nut. I mean, he doesn't play with any sort of fear. I mean, and he would have caught that pass and secured it if he had a second longer before he got lambasted by the safety. Those Seahawks were covering, man.
No,
they were covering all day long, and everything we got, we had to earn. And but
that defense is great. You know why that defense is great? Because it's the same reason their offense is great. Coaching.
Yes.
Elevating talent, having a scheme, being able to adjust, and understanding your opponent's weaknesses and strengths and playing to counter up both of them.
And game planning.
We had no game plan yesterday.
I mean, they were ready. I mean, they really understood what they were going to do. They picked up on what the Cowboys had success on in getting to Jacoby. They ran with that. It worked to utter perfection. They also felt they could throw the ball quickly and not get Sam Darnold rattled like the Cardinals had him in Minnesota in the first half last year, where they were getting
once all day.
Talk about sitting ducks. He's not very mobile, especially and no few quarterbacks are when you have pressure coming right in your face. I mean, you got to make snap decisions in that scenario. And Cardinal fans are saying Kyler would have escaped all that. And
baloney.
Kyler might have just done flops. So take the 12-yard loss. Or, but here's the difference for me. I cannot even imagine Kyler playing as hard in this game as Jacoby Brissett did. And as long as and as many times getting the team in a position to score the way Jacoby Brissett did. Also, it's been a while since, even in this game, Jacoby threw for 268. And he had 2 TDs. No interceptions. He had the 2 fumbles. I don't know if you can really blame him on that either. I mean,
the man was sacked 5 times in the first half with an additional 7 cubic hits.
And you know what? He, brushed himself off, got back up, and competed his ass off.
He's tough. He's an NFL quarterback. But here you have an NFL journeyman backup who clearly beat out your franchise quarterback.
I think there's no, especially when you're pivoting to a downfield passing attack. The only thing Jacoby didn't do for the first time was have a above 500 third down conversion rate.
Well, he dropped to 38%.
Yep. But was it 38% in this game?
Yeah, it dropped. Yeah, it's the worst he's had since he started.
Yep. So, but he's been above 50% in all the other 3 games.
Certainly, Kyler didn't have those stats.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, because of the effort, and because there were other things that happened in this game we got to talk about. Let's just dial up a couple of the good plays to get us sort of. Let's dial up the Dortch TD. Dortch TV coming to you. I hope so. I love this kid. I absolutely love Dortch. So does Brett Coleman. This guy, look at how fast he ran this.
He's a playmaker.
Yep. I mean, and this was and Petsing Bashers, this was a well-designed play, creative play. A shotgun, maverick play with DeMercado leading with a good block right there. Wilson getting a good block on the inside, and Dortch just going downhill to get over that line with his quick feet.
Why do you think Petsing designed that play and called Dortch to execute it?
Because of his speed.
His speed, and the guy gives you something extra every play.
Correct.
Just like James Conner, just like McBride. Give me another name on that offense that you can count on doing that every time he touches the ball.
Well, Wilson's been a real tough guy. Higgy has great potential for that.
Higgy can be a playmaker, no question.
DeMercado had a really good game. I mean, DeMercado is fighting his way back into good graces. I have to give him a lot of credit. A couple weeks in a row now, he really came to play, and that long run he had yesterday was fantastic. I mean, the Cardinals had, Kyle, can you look up what our rushing numbers were? I think we're like 150. We had rushing yards, too. I mean, the Seahawks only out. If you look at the team stats, and in fact, if we could get up the team stats, you would never know it was a 20-point loss or 22-point loss for the Cardinals.
Well, 2 touchdowns.
Even in first downs. Kyle, can you read these off?
Yep. So total plays, Cardinals ran 73 to the Seahawks 59. Total yards, Cardinals 335 to the Seahawks 372. Yards per play 4.6 to 6.3. Rushing yards, Arizona
passing yards.
Passing yards, Arizona 206, Seattle 174. Rushing, Arizona 129, Seattle 198.
That's ouch.
But yards per rush, though, Cardinals 5.6 compared to the Seattle 4.3.
Yeah.
Well, if
we keep going down, 3 for 6 in the red zone. Cardinals commit more penalties. Seahawks win time of possession, but not by as much as you would have expected. It would be just 33-40 to 26-20.
Go up to the top, too, with first downs.
First downs, Cardinals 21, Seahawks 22, including 13 passing first downs for the Cardinals. And then if you take away just the 2 on penalties, both teams converted 20 first downs on offense.
6 for 16 third down, and 6 for 10 for them. That was big. But they were getting them on the rushing. And there's the other thing. We've had a whole year to sip on that bitter Chardonnay. And frickin' A.
Like clockwork.
They pounded it on us.
It's 5 o'clock. Pour a glass of Chardonnay and let them go.
Yeah.
Playing the Cardinals.
Keep the bottle on ice.
You said it.
Keep feeding it. Keep us. I mean, and, let's not forget Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
That dude. Woo. That dude can go. But anyway. All right. So let's also go to the McBride TD. Love this. And what a dime that Jacoby threw in there to McBride. Again, watch this pesky coverage. You got to give the Seahawks credit. Give me some of this. I want to drink whatever they're drinking on defense. Talking about Chardonnay. Well, I want a Seahawks cocktail on how they cover people. Okay, so what's great about this play is that Jacoby throws it at the perfect time. And you notice in the second half, the Cardinals were taking a page out of the Darnold book. Jacoby was getting the ball out quick. And I think this can help us next week against the Niners at home and for the rest of the season, because it's smart to do. And if you focus on it better, that's why I want Dortch in there. I want guys who can get the ball quickly and separate quickly. I think Wilson can do it well. I think Higgins can do it. I think Marv can, if he wants to suddenly now play over the middle. That's the key to his game now. He's got to be able to do that. He's just not going to win all the time on the perimeter.
Here, let's real quick right here. Count. Yeah. I'm going to go snap the ball at 8:48. There's 4 on the play clock.
Right.
1,000, 2,000, ball out, 8:46.
Right. That was one of the rare times they caught him in a zone. And boy, did they exploit it. And then leave it to Trey.
Yep.
Trey is trucking. He is. How about that first down play where he leaped? See, and guys on X are telling me I shouldn't praise the guys for their pros. They shouldn't be praised for strong effort. I'm sorry, but you're down 38-7. It's late in the third quarter, and McBride is balling his ass off.
Well, he doesn't know how to play otherwise.
Exactly. That's the point. You want guys who, wherever you're going to play them, and will always play. They only have one switch, which is play hard, and I see that in Brissett. I never saw it in Kyler. Never saw it. In fact, what I would say, and I'm going to write an article about this eventually. And Adam Schefter's calling this breakup with Kyler imminent. So it wouldn't surprise me if something's happening behind the scenes where there's a buyout figure, so that Kyler can just go home and sign with another team if he wants to.
Also, just to note that during the week when Schefter was reporting about Kyler's injury isn't as ready to go as it seemed and leading to that, Schefter's getting a lot of his information from Kyler's agent and that side of the conversation. Yeah.
That's what's driving this. That's how it comes out. Exactly.
Which, again, different people get their sources from different places. But the way that after Gannon went on Arizona Sports and announced, Brissett would have played no matter what, then it was Schefter who was like, well, Kyler's actually not healthy yet, and that's played into the decision. So just for added context, when Schefter says something, a lot of it's coming from the Kyler agent point of view versus the Cardinals are feeding him information as much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think of 7 years of watching Kyler, here's the priority list. Now, I got to say with the caveat first that when Kyler's on top of his game, he's a special performer who does unique and spectacular things off schedule. On schedule at times, he has good games. Also, they tend to coincide with the games where he's chosen, I'm going to run today. That is a off-on decision coming game to game. He's even said it. Today, I just didn't feel like I should run. He's also said, if I'm not 100%, I can't play because I can't protect myself. So that rules out a lot of things. And would explain why, like in the Rams game, his second year with the playoffs on the line, playing John Wolford, he sprained his ankle and went in and out of the locker room 4 times and couldn't get himself to go back in the game while we had Chris Streveler at quarterback trying to deal with that Rams defense. I mean, would Mahomes have even missed a snap in that scenario with playoffs on the line? You just go, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, but here's the priority from Kyler. Number 1, money. Money. He ruined a whole offseason at a time which was so disadvantaged, not only to the team, but I've never seen him more whipped up and passionate about something than getting that contract. And once he got it, we haven't seen the Kyler that was supposedly the Pro Bowler that warranted it. We haven't seen that guy since. And in the meantime, he's been collecting a fat penny. Plus, he paraded the easy money T-shirt after in his first press conference after signing that contract, which, in my opinion, he did not deserve. And I think it's borne out. It's been proven he did not deserve it. So I hate to say, now people will say, no, this is a pro sport, and you ought to do everything you can to get paid. But yeah, but it's also a team sport. And if you're a leader of a team, there's also a leadership element to that, and that good things will come in time. And, pushing the envelope on that, making the Super Bowl weeks all about you and your bag, and doing the just so immature scrubbing of socials. I mean, once he did that, he lost me. Well, he lost me a few weeks earlier when he wouldn't return to the Rams game. That did it for me. I mean, I don't think you come back as a team for a player like that. And that gets to the second point, which is the most consistent thing. 1 was money. 2 is self-preservation. He's the Pat P of offensive players. He will do everything he can to avoid contact, everything possible. Now, amazingly for him at Oklahoma, in the regular season, 12 games, and his Heisman Trophy, 1 year starting in the college football for a whole season, he got hit 9 times. But that was never going to translate over into the pros. And, and I liked him so much because of how hard he played against Alabama in the second half when they got down. He gave Oklahoma, he left it all on the field in that game. And so that encouraged me to think. And then he handled the whole post-game stuff really well as a teammate. And, he did all that. And I'm loath to hitch my wagon to a quarterback who's only had 1 year, albeit a Heisman Trophy year. But then here's number 3, and it pains me to say this because no one wanted Kyler more than I did coming out. I didn't have faith in Rosen, although I still would have loved to see what Cliff could have done with him. But because I think I saw the talent, but I had questions about his, sort of mental frame about the game. But here's the thing and I hate to say this, number 3 is do as little as possible to win. It's just so often, just do the bare minimum to win. I didn't see that Kurt Warner come out and score. Give me that ball. I'm going to try to score every time I got the football. And I see that in Brissett. But I never saw that in Kyler. Never. Save for maybe a couple games like that Ram game last year in week 2. He was great that day. And throwing on schedule and off schedule. But you couldn't get the consistency. And then you always felt like once he had to exert himself so much in one game, wasn't ready to or wanting to give that kind of effort for 60 minutes consistently. And I think there was a focus issue too. I'm not sure Kyler has the capacity to stay locked in, focused for 60 minutes of football. I mean, there are all these other distractions too. You're sitting on the sidelines, and then the leadership stuff. He's still, on the sidelines. He does nothing that I see that galvanizes a team. And then lastly is, who is he making better around him? Look what Jacoby's done in 4 weeks. Who's better around him? Kyle? Who's better around Jacoby now?
Well, you could throw Marvin Harrison Jr. in there. He's had a couple of tremendous games so far.
Yeah.
Could throw Michael Wilson in there. He had the game against Dallas. I know he didn't have a great game yesterday, but could throw that in there. Dortch scored a touchdown for what felt like the first time in 15 games. I know it wasn't Jacoby wasn't even a part of the play, but at least Dortch found the end zone finally at once. So
and Dortch had one against the Cowboys too, didn't he?
He might have. I can't remember.
I think he had one in one of the other games. So
it sure feels like a while since you've seen a Greg Dortch touchdown.
Right. Well, certainly out of the Wildcat, that was a new one. So I like giving Petzing credit on plays like that. It's a winner.
Elijah Higgins has gotten more involved.
Way more. He's a factor. He's getting good play out of the running backs. Jacoby's a galvanizer. Out of Zay Jones. Zay Jones was a non-thought until Jacoby showed up. And then suddenly he's clicking, and sadly, Jones looks like he has an Achilles.
Yep.
Feel bad for him.
Yep.
He finally was getting his game together with Jacoby at quarterback, and now I'm sure it's going to be season ending for him. And but
all the issues you mentioned with Kyler, and they're all spot on. I think you have to mention another one, and I think it might be as important and as impactful as the others. Although I don't know if anything is more impactful than being a selfish football player. Right. But let's face it, Kyler Murray is not healthy. He's often injured quarterback.
Correct.
He's missed a ton of football. He's going to continue to miss football. Right. You can't count on Kyler to get through an entire season without a major injury.
Correct. It's amazing he held up for all 17 games last year.
Yeah.
It also coincided with him being in the best shape of his rehab was great. You got to give Kyler super credit.
100%.
He came back so well. He even said weeks earlier he could have played. And he didn't look like he was favoring anything. I mean, he came right after it, and he lasted the season.
If Kyler would work on the mental part of the game as hard as he worked on physically rehabbing, we'd have a much better Kyler Murray.
That's it. And to his credit, he's tried to galvanize the receivers, takes them to LA for their little retreat where they work out and play games and eat, fun food and a lot of ping pong and pool and swimming. And, got to give him a ton of credit for that.
He's just doing what most other quarterbacks do. That's not original. That's not creative.
Right.
That's just, that's optics, in my opinion.
Well, it can be, but it also was a pretty penny. But he's certainly can afford it. And the charity stuff that he does and all that. I think
he's a nice kid.
He's a good,
he's a nice introverted kid.
Right.
And he's spoiled and entitled football player.
Did anyone notice he was at the game yesterday?
Yeah, I think they showed him maybe once or twice. They did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If he wasn't at that football game, it's inexcusable.
Well, I was looking for him in the crowd. I never saw him once. And interesting, the game before, every time Jacoby threw a touchdown, they panned over to Kyle.
If he was not at that game, that says a lot about his future, doesn't it?
Well, and I don't know what the rule is for guys rehabbing, but James Conner was at the Cowboys
game.
Absolutely. There to support the teammates. Now he's rehabbing a major injury, which is, if you leave a guy behind, for those purposes, I get that. But, and Connor's a captain. But this is where I think this split up may be imminent, as Adam Schefter is trying to point out. I think there may be impetus on both sides to just kind of deal with this and get it done, rather than have it linger and fester. What's the best the Cardinals could ever get out of a trade? Maybe a day 3 pick because of the contract, right?
So no, I think you're looking at whatever the Geno Smith trade was. You could do as good, if not better than that. I can't remember. Geno went for a third, I think. It might have been a compensatory third or something.
Yeah, but Geno Smith was winning.
I just think it's similar trade, a similar trade.
His head coach wanted him, the guy who loved him most, who he won for. I mean, Geno Smith kicked Kyler's ass. I'm sorry. He kicked Kyler's ass for 5 straight games. It wasn't even close.
Well, he kicked the defensive coach's ass too, didn't he?
True. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And I just looked it up on a news service. Kyler was not at the game yesterday. There were no league rules preventing him from being at the game. It was a team decision or his own to stay home and focus on his recovery. So I don't know how much more difficult it was to get on the team playing with the Liz Frank.
Correct.
So that's enlightening, Walt, because that tells me there's a lot. Maybe the Schefter's reporting that they've already come to terms with it, and the writing's on the wall. It is for everybody else. So maybe for the franchise, the writing's on the wall.
Well, I think it is, and I also
it should be.
Yeah. No, and thank you for looking that up, because, and I already knew going in. That's why I was checking so much. I thought it would be so Kyler not to go to this game. Now, for the same reasons why, when Dan Viens asked me about the Kyler situation and what I thought was going on, he asked me, do you think it's a legit injury? And then do you think it was a soft benching? And then the going to the IR. I turned it back on Dan and I asked him, because Dan's never been a Kyler fan. And I credit him. I would think if you're a Seahawks guy, you want Kyler, because you have basically gotten in his head like Aaron Donald did. So, I mean, he's had no success. You have to go way back to 2020. Was the last time he beat a Seahawks team. So, but what I said to Dan was, I ran it back at him. I said, Dan, under any scenario, could you envision Kyler Murray accepting a backup role to Jacoby Brissett? Like swallowing his pride and saying, okay, Jacoby's playing great. I'm still a captain. I'm going to work with Jacoby and help support him and the team. Under any scenario, can you envision that? I couldn't. And that's where we are. I mean, and Dan couldn't. He was like, no way. And that's the thing about Kyler, is if it doesn't go his way, he bolts. I mean, look at his track history. I mean, A&M didn't go his way. He bolts. Now, part of that was the whole thing was falling apart there. So I don't completely. Now, what's surprising about Oklahoma is why he didn't bolt that, except that he was excelling in baseball there, and he was getting whiff of that he was going to be a first-round draft pick. So that kept him in Oklahoma. And at the same time, he was waiting patiently for his chance to play. But then what about the Oakland A's? He bolts. I mean, and if that doesn't infuriate, people of what he cost the A's doing that, a first-round pick, number 9. You don't get compensated for it. You don't get anything back. You just lose the whole pick, right? So then how about at the end of the Rams playoff game? Sits out. It's just too much for him. In a game where by the way, J.J. Watt fought miraculously to play in and played his ass off. In a game where Budda Baker laid it all out on the line while his team was getting thumped. And we know what happened there. In a game where while his teammates are praying for Budda, he's over on the bench with an assistant coach and Colt McCoy, who was his shadow or hired to be his shadow. I mean, all that is just like so. And then the scrubbing of socials. It's like a big F you. Bye, Cardinals. You failed me. I played bad because you're a sucky organization. And, come on, Jerry Jones. Come on, whoever. Denver Broncos. I want to go to a team that, has good wide receivers and a great defense. I don't want to get stuck with the Cardinals, who drafted me number 1. Bye, Cliff Kingsbury. Don't give a shit about you. I could care less if you get fired. Look at the way he bailed on Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, he was fine with fans saying it's Kingsbury's fault. And he's been fine with the Petzing thing. I think one of the things that really pissed the Cardinals' current coaches off was at the end of that Titans game, which, by the way, he shouldn't have been playing in. The doctor came on and showed why he shouldn't have been playing in. He couldn't put any weight on his back foot. And he only went 2 for 4 in the fourth quarter and couldn't move the team. When one field goal would have won that game. And on the 3rd and 8, the infamous 3rd and 8.
3rd and 8, yep.
Post game, what does Kyler say? Oh, I just run the play they tell me to run. Oh. That to me, in a nutshell, epitomizes Kyler. So ready to blame someone else. So ready he went out of his way to make sure everyone knew it was Petzing who called that. And we learned in that interim that the Cardinals Petzing has had issues with him with audibling out of plays. So he had a no audible clause going for Kyler on certain plays. And Petzing made sure, it just came out that Petzing had a no audible call for Kyler on a play. But if he can't throw the football, and you already know it, and he's still in the game, and you're not going to put Brissett in there, which he should have been the whole fourth quarter. If Brissett plays that fourth quarter, we win that football game. There's no doubt in my mind. But instead, Kyler goes into that fourth quarter shell like he did for weeks, except for the one Seattle game where he played like dog shit for 3 quarters. And then suddenly, because the defense kept the team close enough, got it going. And I give him a ton of credit for that. That's one of the best fourth quarters he's ever had. But does he build on that? No. And that's what's so frustrating about Kyler. It happened then, but then, every other fourth quarter, he's back to, and that's where I get back to this. Do the bare minimum. Try to get away with that. And with the with anybody, when you do that, you've got on and off switches, hot and cold switch, levers. That's what you're going to get. So, Kyle, what do you think's going to happen
with the whole this year or the offseason?
Crystal ball us.
Okay, so
there's going to be a settlement right now, and he's going to be gone, or are they going to wait? What do you think?
Oh, they're going to wait to trade him in the offseason. Kyler Murray is done in Arizona. I think we all kind of agree with that point. I mean, when the news first broke on Tuesday that he was going on the IR, I mean, I was one of the people who kind of jumped to the conclusion of like, it kind of looks like he's going on IR at the behest of him, his agent, and the organization, where it's a mutually beneficial. You get to protect your investment. We get to not get injured more.
Or not get humbled.
Or
it wasn't soft benching. Kyler's been hurt the whole time, right?
Yeah, and I guess I commend him for at least trying to make the PR look good, right? Because he did get benched. Jonathan Gannon said straight up he got benched, even though Gannon said 12 hours earlier that he was the quarterback, and it's just because I say so, which was a terrible defense of something that obviously wasn't true. But I mean, he's done in Arizona because putting him on IR was beneficial to both sides if he's never going to play anymore. It is Arizona won't have to pay him guarantees if he gets hurt trying to play through the injury.
Correct.
Kyler can protect the value for the trade that's coming up.
Right.
I do think he has some value. Like, there's plenty of teams whose fan bases are mocking up the fake trades for Kyler Murray on what is essentially a 1-year deal. I don't know if the team would sign him to an extension or what, but the reason I think it's going to look very similar to the Geno Smith Geno Smith trade is Geno had 1 year left, about $40 million in guarantees, which the Cardinals will probably have to pay down some of the guarantees and take the dead cap hit on a trade, which they would get short-term savings, but they'd have to still pay a $17 million dead cap hit, I think, if they traded him. But I think it's going to be pretty similar to that. A team that needs a stopgap quarterback is going to take a chance on him for 1, maybe 2 years. Maybe he gets the 1-year extension, kind of like Geno got with the Raiders. And a team that is looking for a stopgap quarterback that doesn't have a top pick in the 2026 class or doesn't like the 2026 class. I mean, I was reading a story that like Mendoza's the one people expect to be number 1, but they're saying the top of this year's class is not the caliber of the top of previous year's classes. So a team that doesn't want to do a quarterback, the Raiders, the Saints, someone like that will take a stopgap with Kyler for 1 to 2 years, see if they can get something out of it. And then eventually Kyler will kind of be like Russell Wilson, where they'll draft another quarterback. That quarterback will be waiting behind him, or they'll move on from him. That's probably what's going to happen. He's going to get another shot because Sam Darnold got another shot in the league and he was terrible on the Jets. Like, they'll take a chance on a 8-year veteran who's had a proven track record of at least above average quarterback play in the NFL. Someone's certainly going to take the chance on it, but it's not going to be a serious, like, we are committing to you as the franchise quarterback. It's going to be, I think, pretty similar to Geno Smith with the Raiders this past year, Daniel Jones with the Colts, a situation kind of like that.
Sam, what do you think?
Well, we'll have a lot to say on this. The Arizona Cardinals don't have Kyler Murray to kick around anymore. He's done. But be careful what you wish for, because now this coaching staff doesn't have Kyler Murray as their excuse. Coaching staff is going to be judged on the merits and the play of its players for the rest of the season. Jonathan Gannon is 2-12 without Kyler Murray. So this isn't a quarterback holding back a coaching staff. This is a coaching staff coaching, or should be coaching, for their jobs. As far as the franchise trading Kyler Murray, that's not going to happen. Nobody's going to give him a nickel for Kyler Murray. And all you have to do is look at the Daniel Jones situation coming out of the Giants. Same situation at the end of the season. He was owed a performance or a health bonus. It was in around the $20 million range. It's the same with Kyler. Nobody's taking that on, and the team's not going to give him another $20 million. So they're going to have to cut this guy. And Daniel Jones was never injured. Daniel Jones was healthy through most of his career.
Well, he played through it. He was picked up, but
so I don't see any team bailing out the Arizona Cardinals for their Kyler Murray mistake. So we're going to have to see what this team is going to finish, what their record's going to finish at, how competitive. If they keep losing games by 20 points, you keep this coaching staff, you keep this front office that allowed this coaching staff to fancy themselves in an arrogant manner in terms of hiring position coaches. I don't know. If I were Monty, I'd be really upset with how they've used the players he's drafted. The lack of, you look at the complete failure on the offensive line. Who made the decision? I understand everybody watched Clayton Adams go out the door, but who made the decision to bring in an untested, unproven college offensive line coach to come in and improve this running game and improve this offensive line, which absolutely hasn't happened. And it's not just the offensive line, it's both trenches. Yeah. So they brought in a ton of talent. And the Sweat signing was a good signing. Wasn't a great signing because Sweat's probably the most impactful player on the defensive line and maybe on the defense, but he's not great. He hasn't been great. We haven't gotten the sack numbers or the pressure numbers from him. He's a headsy player in a big game. Dallas game, he was a wrecking ball. But if you look at the defensive line, they're not injured like the backfield. Okay, you can make excuses for the backfield. You got a second, you got a third, you got a kid off the bench, you got a Denzel Burke who's basically a rookie playing in tough games and tough spots. Okay, you cut the coaching staff some slack with respect to the defensive backfield. Defensive line, they're ranked 28th in pressures and sacks in the NFL. They went up from 32, so congratulations. Yeah. The whole defense has regressed. The offensive line has regressed. So what do you want from a coaching staff? You want wins, you want growth, you want competitive effort, you want situational play calling? They've regressed in every area. The defensive rankings are below last year's. The offensive rankings are below last year's. And the running game is a complete disaster. And that starts even with James Conner healthy. It would be better, but you have an offensive line and you have a defensive line. You have trenches that are ineffective.
Yep.
And that's there you go. You play football with weak trenches, you're going to lose every game. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, and look at who they are. It's unbelievable. So you invest heavily in the defensive line, and then your defensive line coach is a guy, once again, straight out of college, a young guy who's younger than Calais Campbell.
The only reason he is employed by the Arizona Cardinals is because he was Nick Rawls' roommate in college.
And that's the kind of connections they're doing. Like, Justin Fry was Paris Johnson's coach. And Paris Johnson likes him. So, yeah, bring him in. I mean, and then how about this? You know who the Cardinals inside linebacker coach is? Christian Garcia.
Yeah.
He was with the Cowboys as an assistant D-back coach. Zero experience coaching inside line, even though he was an inside linebacker Florida, but zero experience coaching the position. And then the guy who's outside linebackers coach, Sweat and Birch and Saban and Browning is Patrick. No, wait, excuse me. It's Matt Feeney. And he was with Panthers, I think, but an assistant position role. And it wasn't with outside linebackers either, as I recall. And, you know, I mean, it's like who. So you're hiring coaches who this is the first time they've coached at the NFL at those positions. And then you got the trifecta: defensive interior with Delata Badere, inside linebackers with Garcia, and outside linebackers with Feeney. Now, maybe these guys are good coaches down the line, but this whole thing, this naivete that like, oh, we can just hire guys, with no experience and they're going to be great because we'll groom them.
Well, it says something about your coach. What does that say about your front office that stands there and that watches that?
Right.
The guy coming out of Patriots, coming out of the Titans. How does a front office just stand by and benignly look at that disaster waiting to happen? And it is a disaster.
Right.
The coaching on this team is a disaster.
It is.
And it was disaster from day one. It was a disaster from the day these guys signed their contracts. This is the result of it. This is the product we have.
Yeah.
This is coaching. That's why I say you don't have Kyler Murray as an excuse anymore. You've got how many games left? Every game is coaching. It's going to rely on coaching, and the coaches are going to be on the hot seat. The coaches are going to be the focus. And the way this team plays is all about coaching right now. They're not going to have Kyler Murray to blame for failures anymore.
Yep.
So Walt, prediction. They win one more game this year. It's off season. These guys going to get fired. They're going to replace them. They win one more game.
Benjamin Albright. He's a sort of, Johnny Venerable and
yes,
O'Brack really hail this guy as like a Nostradamus of Cardinals beat reporters or commentators. Well, Benjamin Albright predicted a playoff berth for the Cardinals. He said he could practically guarantee it, and that obviously is out of the question. So he didn't get that one right. And now he was doubling down yesterday after the game that for anyone thinking that Gannon's gone after this year, you're 100% mistaken.
I agree with him.
He's here to stay.
I agree with him.
And Gannon said that himself on Burns and Gambo when they asked him, "Are you feeling nervous about your job?" He said to them, Gambo, because Gambo asked the question, Gambo, I landed in the perfect place here in Arizona. So no, I'm not worried about it. What does that mean? I mean, that's why I said, you got one organization, eyeing the Lombardi. What would it mean to bring Gannon back? First of all, is he a quarterback guru for a new quarterback? Is Israel Wolfert?
Yeah,
is Drew Petzing?
No.
I think Jacoby, his experience is carrying the day there right now. But I wouldn't trust any of those guys with a brand new quarterback.
Absolutely not.
No. And maybe down the line, maybe if they get more, experienced, who knows? But as of right now, they've botched every quarterback situation except Jacoby.
Correct.
They drafted a guy and then, treated him like
no quarterbacks. Absolutely none. Not even Kyler Murray. They have not improved Kyler Murray's play in any significant way. And they haven't tried.
And they didn't even put him in a system that I thought would be best suit his skills. So they just basically like force fit him into this Petzing offense that, also with Stefanski in Cleveland, this offense is not quarterback friendly. So, I mean, there's a history to this. And part of it is that quarterbacks need to get in a groove. Ask Kurt Warner. He always said, I pass to set up the run because if I don't get in a groove, we're not going to win. And he said, I can't hand the ball off, and it's a 3rd down and 9, and I throw incomplete, and I'm in no groove. And that makes total sense. And particularly in today's game. It's great when you run the ball, but you have to be able to pass the ball effectively. You have to in today's game. The key to winning, in my opinion, in today's game is passing over the middle. That Tom Brady and Mahomes have mastered. I mean, if you can beat teams over the middle, you're going to win a lot of games. And now we have a better chance with Jacoby, but we got to get Marv cued in. One thing that Marv said that I was really impressed with was that when I see Jacoby balling for us and taking hits, it makes me want to play harder. That's fantastic. So now let's see that translate. And it has with Higgins, but we have to get it out of Dortch. We have to start and we get it out of McBride. But he's more hash marks, rather than middle. McBride is because he's so good at it, but he's going to have to do more over the middle. But we have to, like Sunday's game against the 49ers. They are minus Fred Warner now. That gives us an ample opportunity. And yesterday, I mean, Stafford was dialing them up. He's having his way.
Tremendous.
So
we got to play Stafford 2 more times. 2 times again, right? We haven't played him yet, right?
Yeah.
In San Francisco, and then we got it. At least we've got Seattle out of the way, huh?
Once again.
Yeah. But we're in a transition now. Fans, media, everyone, players, everyone. We should no longer be asking if the quarterback is holding back the team. Now it's the coaching staff.
Right.
Now the question is the coaching staff. It's all on the coaching staff now. No more Kyler to beat up. It's all coaching staff. We'll see how this team finishes at the end of the year. We'll see what this locker room thinks of its coaching staff at the end of the year. And we're going to see what the front office thinks of this staff at the end of the year. And then we're going to jump into failure 101. And that is the owner's going to be the guy to make the decisions on how to fix this thing. And one thing we know, he's the wrong guy to fix anything.
Right. And that's why on an upcoming podcast, when we feel it's ready, we're going to unveil the Synth 61 brilliant idea of somehow convincing Bidwell to hire explain your project.
Well, you can't have the same guy making all the wrong decisions.
Correct.
You just can't.
Right.
So he's going to have to figure out, or somebody's going to have to prevail on him to find somebody to run this franchise so he can step aside.
Correct.
He needs to become
still be owner and all that. But
that's right. He needs to do the PR, which he likes to do, hobnob with everyone he likes, and get the hell out of the way of the football operations.
And for those who think he's done that with Monty, no way. I mean, I have talked from inside that building, from heard through the coaches that the majority of the offensive coaches wanted Neighbors, not Marv. And we know, I mean, I think it was really clear that there's no way Bidwell was going to let us not take Marv, knowing the hue and cry from Cardinals fans. And here's where he's getting, he thinks it sells tickets. But the fans, unfortunately, are not making smart decisions. Like a real football guy would have gone like, this guy just divided our locker room. I'm going to reward him with $230 million? You're out of your freaking mind. I mean, except no, all the fans, they're all clamoring. Oh, God, they're so whipped up. We have no other choice. No other choice, even though we had him under contract for 2 more years. No other choice. We got to sign him now, and it'll be worth it financially years down the road. Everything points to signing him now. Out of desperation, he caves. And Kyle and I know, we have a proof of this. We were talking about this on Red Rain. We have a saved podcast where it was the caveat of, if you cave and give Kyler his contract, this is going to be years of setback for the organization, because you can't survive that kind of scenario where a guy's divided the locker room and he's the one you reward. You fire the hardest working coach you've ever had, who, by the way, had this thing moving in the right direction for 3.5 years until the quarterback started falling apart and have an attitude and saying he didn't even have to study. He just knew things before they could happen. Shit like that. But so back to your prediction, I tend to agree with you. It wouldn't surprise me, although I have sort of a theory that Monty and JG's relationship with Bidwell goes beyond football. And I think there's some common denominators there that somehow Bidwell finds attractive, given his background. And that I fear, because I don't think either one of them is equipped to lead a team towards a Super Bowl. But with Bidwell, it may not be about Super Bowls. I don't know if it ever has been.
No.
For a family that made it a hard time on Kurt Warner financially, to have to beg for a decent salary after he was the only quarterback to lead us to a Super Bowl, tells us everything we need to know about the Bidwell's ability or interest in sustaining anything good. And it's like a poison pill. They had every time we got good, Carlos Dansby, bye-bye. You're not going to pay guys. You're not going to, do what good teams do. So it's a constant revolving door. You lowball people. You charge them for a soda in the frickin' facility. I mean, all this stuff that, the backload of all this stuff and the import of it has just weighed this whole franchise down like anchors. And I don't know, to this day, I know that Michael Bidwell is not a football guy. He doesn't understand football. What he understands is what fans are clamoring about. Like, he thought, for example, that bringing in Hollywood Brown would create a parade. He thought that, and of course, this was out of desperation when his prize trade that all the fans thought was the greatest thing ever with Hopkins is now falling apart at the seams. It's now turning into a disgrace. And everything that I worried about, I said, caveat emptor, this guy will do what he did to the Cardinals, what he did to the Texans. And he did. He walked all over this organization. And Bidwell let him. And fans still adore him. That's the thing. It's so crazy. I mean, talking about quitters, bailers. I mean, he was all-time quitter. He was like a Suggs. Only at least Suggs played and quit during playing. But nonetheless, there's, and now there's going to be a new campaign from the fans. But the interesting thing is, I think most of the fans now are fed up with Gannon. I think they were incensed that after the game, once again, see, every week after the game, he pisses off fans. For the previous 3 weeks, it was, Oh no, when Kyler's ready, we're going back to Kyler. I mean, now the one yesterday was, Coach, do you think it's maybe time for changes in the personnel and coaching? He goes, no. Flat out, no. Nothing's going to change. The only thing that's going to change is I'm going to find a better way for us to play, because it's all on me.
It is.
And every week, do we see a better way on defense? We did against the Cowboys. We did there, but we had Will Johnson in the lineup. We had Walter Nolan come on, like gangbusters, and credit all that. And, so why doesn't that get sustained into this game?
We played a much better football team, much better coached football team.
Yep. Well,
much more competitive, a much more complete, a much more aggressive franchise from top to bottom. This is Arizona Cardinals are not the Seattle Seahawks. They're not the Patriots. They're not the Broncos.
Yep.
They're not organizations that are aggressively pursuing a Super Bowl.
Right.
The Arizona Cardinals aren't aggressively. They're not aggressive about anything. He's not going to make any changes to the coaching staff because it's the easy way out. It's the easy thing to do.
Well, financially, it can make sense. And here's how. And people aren't seeing it this way, and I'm trying to enlighten them online. Everyone's saying we're still playing for Kingsbury. Well, time out. Kingsbury's making $6 million a year. He would have been making 7.5 here, so they're paying Cliff Kingsbury the balance, which is 1.5 mil.
Those are pennies.
Right.
Those are pennies.
They're still playing Kime.
Yeah, well, those are pennies.
Right. Kime resigned. That voided his contract. So maybe there's a severance package that's been worked out or whatever. It probably was a quid pro quo or something. You resign and I'll give you this. But that's not going to be a factor. It shouldn't be a factor anyway. These guys are rolling in money. All right. So, and then you have most of the coaches on this staff, their contracts are up. All the assistants. Gannon's is the one that isn't. And maybe Jeff Rogers probably got a longer deal than the regular coaches.
Which even still, Gannon would only have 1 year left on the deal, which in the NFL is like, what are we doing here? Unless you're Jerry Jones and you drag back Mike McCarthy, usually you're either getting extended or fired with 1 year left on your deal.
I think he's got 2 years left. Didn't he sign a 5-year deal? He got 5 years out of it.
Got 5 years out of it to be willing to take on the project.
Well, he's smart doing that because, the track record, you want a paid vacation for like a whole year. Screw up the Cardinals job, get fired, and go to Thailand or wherever you want to go. I mean, boy, it's just a mess. But getting to what Sam's saying, could we envision a scenario where Bidwell would say, you know what, I am going to try this now. I'm going to invest in a football guy that I'm going to trust. And I'm going to put him as the director of football operations. And I'm going to do, just as Sam suggested, the things that I like to do, the promotional things. But I'm just going to put the decision-making in his hands. Have him hire the coaches, whatever he wants. Have him be in charge of player personnel. Have him hire the GM. Now, I thought, if Bidwell's this married to Ossenfort, he could put Ossenfort in that role and promote Dave Sears to GM. I'm not in favor of that because, put it this way, Monty Ossenfort condoned hiring an inexperienced head coach when he was interviewing some guys with experience, who then hired totally inexperienced coordinators, who then hired totally inexperienced assistant coaches, and thought he could compete in the NFC frickin' West. It's just the most harebrained scheme imaginable. I mean, and without any senior advisor coaches. This is a GM. That's on him. And then a lot of his drafts, he's drafting guys with medical red flags, and it's coming back to burn them. And we worried about that at the time, or some sort of red flags, because if you look at it, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, Garrett Williams looks like he's going to be injury prone his entire career. Right now, I don't think he's playing completely healthy either. It doesn't look like he's running all that well. You've got to love the player as a zone player. Man, he's got some work to do. But zones, he's amazing. And he's better if he's a little under than over. And then Will Johnson. I mean, he's now missed 3 games. And he's quite an impact when he plays, isn't he? I mean, I think he's 3-1 when he plays, or 3-2. I mean,
and he's got good PFF grades, at least most of the time.
He does, and he's he's a willing tackler. That tackle he made on the Cowboys running back that stood him up, where Cody Simon was able to come in and knock that ball out, that was a huge play in that game. But so if you're going to slide it over to Monty and have him run, I can't endorse that. It's just, I have no comment. And I wrote about this, and I'll just say it again. It's like you'd never know the guy worked for the Patriots for 14 years. You'd never know it. If anything, he's anti Patriots way. I'll do it my own way. So, and the whole Gannon thing bothered me from the start, and it still bothers me. As I said in my tweet, what's the point of struggling at the quarterback position, but hiring a defensive-minded head coach when your defense doesn't tackle well, doesn't cover well, is so sporadic in rushing the passer, and they still get torched by guys like Charbonnet in the running game? What's the point? Because he's a good guy and he can schmooze with guys, and they like him, and he balances their time well. I mean, that's so far from a Super Bowl ready model that makes you think, then you don't give a shit about Super Bowls. You didn't give a shit about it when it was in your own freaking building, and you let that quarterback dictate the whole offseason. When the other 2 previous teams won in their buildings, there was a precedent. And you let that whole thing linger and fester and erode any chances that team had. And we had a playoff caliber team, one of the rare times, with a J.J. Watt coming back healthy, with Budda Baker, Zach Allen coming on like gangbusters, Trey McBride coming on like gangbusters. I mean, we had a really James Conner. We had Will Hernandez. We had quite a and we had tackles too, who were pretty dang good. Except now this new coaching staff comes in, and it's got to be a tackle. I mean, I'm glad we have him now. He's the one good tackle we have, and I love the person. Love the person. And I think he'd be a really good leader. But did you see what Will Anderson Jr. did yesterday? I mean, again, for a defensive-minded head coach, how do you ever make that decision?
I don't know. I mean, I've gone back and forth. The problem in my my opinion on it is the problem wasn't trading the 3 first-round picks for Will Anderson. The problem was trading back up 2 first-round picks that ended up being kind of premium to get to 6.
Right.
Like, if you get 3 first-round picks to move down 9 spots.
They didn't get 3, Kyle.
You get 2. But I'm saying you get 2 extra first-round picks to move down 9 spots. You take what you can get. But the problem was trading back up to 6. You lost all the value that you got in trading down to 12.
Correct. It's sort of like,
Yeah, because if they had stuck at 12, and I think they got 33 in the deal, you would have ended up with Darius Robinson. The 12 pick was Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe you take Gibbs, maybe you take someone else, and what would have been maybe Sam Laporta or Brian Branch or someone at the top of the second round.
And you would have back-to-back picks.
Mm-hmm.
33 and 34. Or no, 30, 34 and 35.
Yeah. Which I say 3 first-round picks, 34, you're getting a first-round talent at second-round prices, essentially.
Yeah, I get that draft capital. If there was a guy that, you thought was in the same ballpark. I mean, what was our number one? And then you're like wrapping two drafts into one because
sure it was a rebuild. Yeah,
first round pick turned out to be Darius Robinson. I get that, which by the way, so far hasn't done us much good. He's trying to fight his way still, and the injury really set him back. But love the guy too, wonderful, and he works hard, and hopefully. Year 3 is going to be a charm, but it's been slow getting there so far, like the Cardinals' so-called rebuild. But here's the thing, is that, so you trade back, and I so agree, given the draft capital back, which, in retrospect, you think of the picks they could have made, particularly if they stayed at home at 33 and 34 or 34 and 35, back-to-back second-round picks, with all
which are the best second-round picks. They're right at the top.
Yeah, you're right. You're like getting first-round talents at second-round salaries. I mean, that's bargain. But, it had to be on a contingent that the number 12 pick you're getting, there was a player there that you thought could be as impactful as the guy you're giving up, Will Anderson Jr. And like you said, they obviously looked at that and said, well, no, there's probably not a guy there. And I think the irony is that, and this happens a lot, Paris Johnson Jr. might have been on the board at 12. I don't think he was a slam dunk to come off the board. So then it's a win because now you get the 2. And instead they traded both picks out and went with an injured player, B.J. Ojulari, to try to compensate for, which made no sense to me at the time, and it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, even if Paris goes, Darnell Wright was the 10 pick. Peter Skoronski, which is more interior offensive line, was the 11 pick. Right. Yeah, Christian Gonzalez would have been on the board. Jackson Smith and Jigba would have been on the board. If you take Jackson Smith and Jigba, you don't have to take Marvin Harrison the next year. And yeah, the whole thing kind of changes its tune. But yeah, that's why the Cardinals are 3-6 in year 3 of a rebuild, right?
Well, let's not snooze on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
People are learning now and I had this brief discussion with Dan Viens on this. The old myth of you don't use a first-round pick on a running back. Well, if you were watching the games yesterday, right? I mean, or watching games last year to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl with a first round. Now, it wasn't their first round, and they got lucky because Saquon should have never left the Giants building if the Giants were smart about it. But they blew it, and they handed him over and helped the Eagles. So you have that. Jahmyr Gibbs is a legitimate, just scary player to try to prepare for when you have all those other complementary pieces on offense. So, I mean, his value, I think, is it was worth the pick for them because of how dynamic he is and how hard he is. But then Jonathan Taylor, okay, you're right. Every now and then you can get a running back who's not in the first round. But if there was a redraft right now, where is Jonathan Taylor going?
In the first round. First round.
Top of the first round.
Yep.
I mean, that guy is such a bell cow. Did you see him take over that game yesterday?
I did, yeah.
From Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did that against us. So it was like deja vu, watching the same thing all over again. That's what is helping Daniel Jones out so much in Indy is that late in games he just needs to make sure he doesn't fumble the snap or the handoff because that guy is so good. He is so good.
Yeah, I think the important thing now is that you just need the quality skill position players. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're getting them from. You need skill position players of quality, whether it's a running back, a tight end.
Correct.
If you can just get someone who can make plays and do things like that and invest in an offensive line. That's the other thing. If you're going to draft running backs, you got to invest. Like, people could talk about Jonathan Taylor all they want, but I think it was the same draft. They got Quentin Nelson, a future Hall of Fame left guard, at the 6th pick in the draft. Right. And that's anchored everything Jonathan Taylor's career has been.
They put the horse before the cart. So, yeah, I mean, wow. Yes. Agreed on all that. But the thing about first round backs, I don't know if Gianti is going to qualify for this, but he might. But they're the guys who are all purpose you can do everything with, like Saquon. They're guys you can run between the tackles. We saw, can Michael Carter be last running through the tackles? No, but he's good on the perimeter. Sometimes with fast guys, but these guys like Jonathan Taylor can do it all. Running backs like that, and I've always said this, which player on your offense gets the most touches every game?
Well,
wouldn't you want him in the hands of the most capable guy?
Yeah. Look, I've seen running backs falter under strong offensive lines, and I've seen them look like Saquon and Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey in front of strong offensive lines. I think running is such a product of your offensive line, but the thing about, bring it back to the Cardinals rebuild was you could have done both. You had the running attack and you could have built out the offensive line with the premium of draft picks you gave up to not take Will Anderson Jr., which even if you had took Will Anderson Jr., it would have solved a different problem because we saw it last year. Their offensive line was excellent. They had the requisite talent to have an excellent running game and an excellent offensive line. And call it Clayton Adams, call it Will Hernandez getting hurt, whatever reason it's fallen apart, but they had it. Last year they had an excellent offensive line, and you saw they had an excellent offense because of a result of it. And throw the running game in there too. I mean, their running game was excellent last year. And obviously injuries have derailed things this year, but it's probably a combination of everything: injuries, coaching, everything else down the line.
Thank you. Good stuff. Since 61, Sam?
Suaro Sam had to head out. He had a 9:30 appointment or something like that. So Suaro Sam had to head out a few minutes ago.
All right.
But he didn't want to interrupt your point. He just left us a little note in the chat.
Well, what he left us with is a blueprint for what I think is probably the best scenario, other than Bidwell selling the team, which I think is, probably slim to none. And Slim just left Winslow. So we've hiring a guy to put in charge football operations could be an absolute genius solution. If we just stop paying attention to what the fans want, which oftentimes doesn't line up with the best football decisions. We unfortunately with the fans here, and you got like they get sort of starstruck, and to a degree that's not healthy. And you gotta at times look at both sides of things, and you gotta check out any red flags that come up across, and in order to have good opinions about it, or at least educational opinions about it. So we covered a lot of ground here today. It was a frustrating loss, but I want to get back to giving praise to the players for playing so hard, particularly on offense yesterday. I was really upset about the lack of tackling in the game in general from the defense, once again, against the Seahawks team. But the offense kept trying like crazy, and the defense did create a couple turnovers, which was great. So they did that job and got the ball back in the team's hands, and I loved how hard they played, and I think in that respect, there was integrity in that game in the second half. It was a test of character, put it that way, and I think at least for that test they passed in the second half. And like I said, they went on a 22-9 run. Kind of, it's not too bad given the circumstances. Now, that's not saying still into moral victories, because people are saying that. No, it's acknowledging that guys were doing their jobs even under duress like that. I mean, the pounding that a lot of them took, and a lot of our players got injured in this game. That was a physical. I mean, the Seahawks came physically after us. It's just too bad we didn't reciprocate as much as they laid it on us. But maybe we take their juice. And I always said that as a coach. If we just got, outclassed by someone or, outplayed, I would always say, okay, let's take a page out of their book. Let's drink whatever they're drinking. Let's come after this next game. Let's learn from them things we can apply. And I think we learned a lot from the Seahawks in this game, but especially about the, protecting your quarterback, getting the ball out quicker. That is a huge lesson the Cardinals can build off of if they stack on lessons. And this is my frustration with the coaching staff. Things happen in a game and they don't. Here's how you should look at it, is that at the end of a game, you should look at it from the lens, and maybe the Cardinals do and they don't do a good job of it yet. I'm saying, like, what did we do well that other teams have got to prepare for? What did we not do so well that other teams are going to try to continue to exploit? And that might have saved them that terrible fumble had they done that. Because if they looked at the fourth quarter and what the Cowboys were getting done in their pass rush, blitz packages coming all out after Jacoby, it clearly was what slowed our offense down. It was the one quarter we did not score, which was unusual for Jacoby coming in, because he'd been leading the team to a score in every quarter that he was in. So that's a lesson I hope they'll learn. And this whole, zoning people when it matters most and leaving them wide open. in a zone. Just to clarify, you're taught to pick up your man who's in your zone. So that's why they put a guy right between two of the zones. And then both of our guys could have covered him because it didn't look like there was anyone else in their zones. Instead, no one covered him. And we gave Darnold an easy second pass to connect for their first down. And then 2 plays later, they get the long touchdown. And then there was an avalanche that hit us. And sometimes it breaks open like that. So, but Niners next week at home should be interesting to see. They typically travel well. We know their fans. Oh boy, might have to need a silent count again in our own arena.
Well, they call Los Angeles Levi's South, and it's only a short drive over from Los Angeles to Arizona. Yeah. So I would imagine it's going to be heavy 49er fans.
Yeah. Well, we've run the silent count for 2 straight weeks at home. Yeah. With Cowboy fans going crazy, and and we had to run it at home against the
Packers.
Right. So now it's 3 straight games in a row.
The Cowboy game was in Dallas, though.
And I'm sure they had it ready for the Colts game on the road, too. So since Jacoby's come, we've had a silent count, and we made it do it again.
Is there ever gonna be a time where they're not running the silent count? I mean, maybe Jacksonville. There might not be as many Jaguars.
What happened to them yesterday? Oh, how oof. Anyway, so thanks for a great show, Kyle. Thank you as always, and for getting up early and making the sacrifice you do for all the stuff with the graphics and everything. You're fantastic. Thanks to Sam. It's just so great having him on with us. Love the guy. And thanks to Dan Viens for having me on Seahawks Forever. It's become a tradition. I love talking to that guy. He's special. And I think he was feeling it for me and Cardinals fans, even though he was jumping for joy at what he saw from his Seahawks yesterday. But lots of questions ahead, and love to hear it from any of you. And for all of you who are tuning in, the numbers are doing great. We're really excited, and thanks to you. And please let us know, if there's anything we can do better or what you like, what we're doing so far. One guy wrote me and said, I love the breakdowns you do of the plays. I could have done more of that today. We started off with sort of looking at plays. I don't know if that, satisfied your wants for that today, because we could have done more, but there were so many things to talk about that I didn't. But that's something that I do relish, and that I will continue to bring to you, to break down plays and to, just get you the inside scoop on that. So thank you for that suggestion. And for anyone else who has suggestions, please let us know. In the interim, maybe Sunday, the red rain showers down on you into the red sea. Don't sell those tickets. Red rain.